This meeting of the Brunswick Parking Authority to order. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been complied with and satisfied, and that the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time, place, and conduct of all public meetings of the New Brunswick Parking Authority, has been filed with the City Clerk, has been placed on the appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News and Tribune, as per the annual notice provided in a resolution adopted by this governing body on December 29, 1975. The board members have received the October 26th minutes. Are there any corrections, edits?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, that motion to accept. A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mitch?
Yeah, I just have a few things. First, since the last board meeting, the demolition of the Ferrin Mall and garage began. So we're chipping away at it. We're still on the Patterson Street side of the garage. And like I said, it's supposed to take about 6 months to complete the project. Car sharing, council approved the 2 spaces that I had requested via ordinance. One will be located on Bartlett Street off of College Avenue, and the other one will be off Stone Street, on Stone Street off of College Avenue. Working with Enterprise Car Share to have the signs installed at those spaces to designate them as car sharing spaces. So hopefully that goes well. You know, that's just another option now for the public transportation system, if you will. It reduces the need to have a vehicle in town, and it allows people to rent those cars by the hour. And well, hopefully it's a good thing. And finally, like I said, I don't have much. Finally, the residential permit system. As you know, Jersey Avenue has been going along well. Right now we're looking to an April trial period for the residential permits. We picked April because the end of May is when it picks up as far as residents getting their permits, or tenants especially, since most of the people rent from June 1st on. So we figured that 30-day period would be a good opportunity to test the trial and residential running up. So that's the game plan is. And you know, we're going to do a whole public information session, if you will, and also get the news out via the press.
How's the license plate recognition working?
It's working well. I mean, there are some hiccups, but we're addressing them. Obviously, when a license plate's bent, there's not much you can do about that, other than trying to bend it back, but it's not really our place. But, so the officers will manually enter the license plate into the system, and then it tells you if it's a legitimate parking permit or not. Then you have these weird reads where the license plate is extremely dirty. Again, it's that allows the enforcement officer to enter the license plate into the system, and then it will tell you if it's legitimate. So we're working on it.
Good.
But let me just say the permit holders love it. They find it. To sign up for permits, it's easy. They don't have to come to the office at all. They don't have to wait for a permit to come in the mail. This is specific to Jersey Avenue. So we've got nothing but positive feedback from customers.
Good. Okay. Is that it?
Yes, that's what I have.
Bright, finance?
The financial statement for October was mailed last week. The revenue and expenses are pretty much in line with the budget. We got 28.9 million in revenue. Other than that, we scheduled for interim audit in a couple of weeks. We'll start working on this year's audit.
Okay. And so our next step with our budget with the state is that we
Still waiting for them to
waited for them to return it to us.
Yeah, they have to approve it. Then once they approve it, we adopt it.
Okay.
Then they adopt it.
Bright, I have one question for you. I noticed on the revenue side, the meters, on-street meter is up
Yes.
pretty significantly, even over our budget.
Yes.
Is that, what do you attribute that
We,
to? Is that the new meters?
No, we had the progressive rates. We did that after I did the budget.
Oh, okay,
September,
so the budget didn't capture.
capture the progressive rates at the Saturday.
The progressive, okay, so that's why we're showing more than what we budgeted for.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Beer's not here. Not yet, okay.
Surprising.
Just want to recognize Councilman Egan joining us tonight, thank you. Here's Mr. Beer.
On cue.
Why don't we move on? Any public comment tonight?
Good afternoon, members of the board. You know me, I'm Charles Cradaville, the resident, I'm also the editor of New Brunswick Today. And I have a few points I wanted to bring up. I got some really good news at the zoning board this week that a new development is going to include a bus shelter specifically intended to be used by the New Brunswick shuttle route. And I know this agency is part of the folks who fund that. And I know that you probably remember I've brought up the need for shelters and my view that that would really improve the ridership on this route and help the authority accomplish the goal of making it easier to get by without a car in New Brunswick. And very pleased to see a private developer agree not just to install it, but also to maintain it. And I think now would be a great time for the Parking Authority and the Traffic Commission to take a look at that route and see if there's any tweaks that could be made to the route to improve ridership and also identify other potential locations for these shelters. It's, there's the new one that you guys did at Key Food, which I commended you for. Now there's going to be this one coming in, but there's still a significant chunk of the route that has no shelters, and I think that would be a good step to look towards, whether, regardless of who's funding it. I think it's something that should be planned for. Appreciate the update on the license plate readers. I wanted to ask if there is any policy in place regarding the data from that operation, and what would be done in the situation where, for instance, law enforcement wanted it. Is there any policy that regulates how the authority would handle a request from law enforcement agency?
I'm sure once we get through the trial period and find out that the technology is actually something that we want to use, that would be one of the elements of the implementation of that program citywide.
So during the trial period, there won't be a policy, but you're expecting by June to have one?
I'll leave that up to the staff when they say that the program's available and worthy enough to go citywide, then we'll address all of the issues that surround the implementation of that.
Okay, I think that is an important one, and I think it's one that should definitely be written in a policy. Speaking of written policies, I was surprised to learn through an Oprah public records request that the authority has no written policy for the city hall lot for who's allowed to park there. Can I just ask, what is the policy that is practiced? If there's no written one, what is the policy for parking behind the
I
city?
don't think we control that.
Well, we could,
Once you have-
the city asked the parking authority to man the booth at the lot. And we were told to allow 2 people to park there during the day, this is. People who have city hall hang tags and people who are visiting the city hall or the public safety building to do business. So obviously when someone pulls in, they have a hang tag, the attendant there will allow them to park. When they pull up and they don't have a hang tag, she is to ask what's their business. If they say, I have business with City Hall, she allows them to park there.
Understood. Just a
So that's
couple,
the extent of it.
couple follow-up questions. What are the hours that that's enforced?
That's from 8 to 4.
8 to 4?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you said the public safety building, so would that include somebody who, for instance, has a court?
Engineering this up.
But what if it like
Yeah.
court? So if you have a court date for 9 a.m., you're allowed to park in
Yeah.
City Hall?
Yeah.
Okay. Wanted to ask about the new agreement with the Housing Authority and how that's going. I know it was mentioned at the Housing Authority meeting that one of the tenants was pretty far behind on the rent, the sushi room. Can you tell me how that's?
He's making payments. I just received a payment last week. So he's playing catch up. So he is
Okay.
making payments.
Do you have any idea how much is owed?
I don't have that in front of me right now.
Okay. And regarding, speaking of similar topic, the former Fresh Grocer tenant, has any money been recovered from them? I know there's a court action to pursue that.
As of this point, we have not received any money.
So they still owe $1 million.
Oh, whatever, that was brought up to court, and I think there was a decision brought by the courts. And as far as collecting that, you know, we have not received anything.
Is the authority making any efforts to collect the money?
Well, we can only do what the court allows us to do. You know, the court has ordered them to, I guess, make payment, and they have not, and that's the extent. It's up to the court at this point, whatever the decision was. I don't recall the decision. I mean, we're talking 2 years, 3 years ago. You know.
Well, why don't we check with counsel?
Yeah.
Because if my recollection is correct, it's a single-purpose LLC, which means the only asset was the lease. So if the only asset was the lease, what's there to collect? So you know what judgment was entered, you followed up on that, and you know there was a judgment, and there was the judgment for whatever the number was, $900,000 million. If the entity was a single-purpose LLC, and the only asset of the single-purpose LLC was the lease, the reality is there is nothing to collect. So if your question is, have we collected any money? The answer is no. Do we have a judgment? Yes. Is there a likelihood of collecting the judgment? The likelihood is probably very slim.
Thank you. That was my next question. I appreciate that. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is, I have copies of this form for members of the board. If you could just share it with the other members. This is a financial disclosure form filed by Ms. Ito White, and I had some concerns about it. I know that every member of the board is required to fill this out.
It's public comment. If you have a comment, it's not question and answer, as you know. We do tend to allow you some leeway. If you have an issue or something you want to put on the record relative to her statement, please do so.
Okay.
Okay?
So yeah, as you can see, it's a little confusing the way it's filled out. It says list the name and address of each source of income, and under name, there's not really a name. It's there's 3 items. One is earned income, the other 2 are unearned income. And I believe that's not in accordance with the obligation of this board member to fill out a proper financial disclosure form, and I'm certainly not insinuating it's intentional by any means. In fact, I know the first year that this person has that obligation. So I just wanted to follow up and raise that concern, and in the hopes that you know, an amended form could be filed, or at least you know, my questions could be answered. My questions are pretty simple. You don't have to answer them right here, but I'd like to know. I know that 7 Van Dyke Avenue is the New Brunswick Housing Authority office, but I don't know what the sources of income here are at 1200 Reverend Abraham Woods Jr. Boulevard in Birmingham, Alabama, or 2003 U.S. Route 130 in North Brunswick. I just don't know what those are, and I think that the intent of the law was for folks to be able to know where the sources of income are for the board members of this authority, and I would appreciate a response to the omissions.
Okay. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. As you know, it is not question and answer. It is public comment. I've heard everything you said. I understand the issues. We will look into this. You won't get a response here at the board meeting, and we will either have Ms. Ito file an amended disclosure statement as it requires, and thank you.
Okay, great. So how could I expect a response? Would you be able to respond in writing, or?
No, there is no response to you as a public citizen or as the press. You have brought forward that there's a deficiency in the form. The form will be corrected, the form will be refiled.
Okay, so the form will be corrected and it will be refiled.
Of course, you've made it, yeah, if required, you made it clear that there appears to be an error in the submission. We're going to check in. If it is, it'll be corrected, and thank you, yeah.
Okay, great. And my humble request would be that you could just notify me when that happens and send me a copy of the amended form. Would that be possible?
No, because well, I'm going to give you the cause, because the form, Charlie, is that you're either a reporter, which is fine, or you're a public citizen, which is fine, or you're both, as you've identified yourself as both today, okay, which is fine, okay? The obligation of the board is when you've done as you've done, and brought it to our attention, to correct it. You'll get filed with the clerk's office. If you want a copy, you get one from the clerk's office.
Okay, will the new form be refiled this week?
Charlie, you just brought the form to our attention. We're gonna have a conversation, we'll look at it, and if there's an error, which it appears that there may in fact be, we'll correct it.
Okay,
In
and
a
just,
in a timely manner, Charlie. I'm not giving you a deadline, I'm not working on your deadline. I'm gonna go through the form with the commissioner, and we'll have it taken care of.
thank you, sir, and I appreciate that, and I just.
Certainly, by the next meeting, it will be handled however it needs to be handled.
Okay, and just to explain, I was,
You know, Charlie, I'm not criticizing him, but I'm making it clear, I understand your various positions, and you found something that's not correct. We understand it, I hear you. And by the next board meeting, which is how this board works, you'll be corrected, if it needs to be done.
okay, terrific, and I understand the board's obligation. I was just asking respectfully for the board to go above and beyond their obligation and extend a courtesy of letting me know when this error has been corrected, so that I don't have to check with the clerk's office every day or every week to find out whether a new form has been filed. All I asked was a courtesy, respectfully, that you just tell me when it's been corrected.
But then, by next meeting, you will have the corrected form. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's fine, you don't have to extend the courtesy, I was just saying, it'd be, thank you for bringing it to your attention, I was hoping you would, as a courtesy, send me the form when it's been corrected.
We're responsive to you as a reporter and as a public citizen, and I've responded to you most appropriately. If you want us to physically give you a form, you will have it by next month when we have our next board meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, and everybody, I guess I'll see you before the holidays, but hope you have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay. Any other board discussion? There's none, can we move to resolutions? Mitch, what do we have?
Well, obviously, we have the payment resolution for November, and we also have a resolution to auction a surplus vehicle, which is a 2003 Chevy Silverado, which means we will put it online through US Gov Bid, and allow the public to bid on the vehicle, and sell it to the highest.
Okay. Can we get a motion for the payment resolution? And a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. And a motion for the surplus vehicle auction?
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Second? All in favor?
No,
Thank you.
I thought we checked.
Pedestrian bridge.
I am meeting with city officials, basically the building department, next week to review the preliminary design of the bridge, to see if they have any questions or concerns before we present it to New Jersey Transit.
So it's moving.
There is some movement now, yes.
Okay, any new business?
I have no new business, but I do have 2 items for closed session, which are legal issues.
Okay. In that case, can I get a motion to go into closed session? And a second? All in favor?
Aye.